Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Monday morning edition of Second Breakfast with me and whoever shows up. Let's see what we got going on here today. Well, it's Monday. I had a pretty good weekend. Had a really fun time with OGGM and Mike and Jen from Married with Gaming. Had a really fun show Saturday night with just a whole bunch of great folks. The Saturday night show was a lot of fun, and probably streamed a little longer than I should have, but it's okay. There's always a good time to be had by everybody there. And then Sunday we had a really good game with Cal Vanoni, Omen Owl, Off Grid Gamer, and Armstrong from Mad Eye Miniatures. Hey, what's up, George? Hope you had fun, even though your technical difficulties kind of got in the way, probably of most of it. But next time, just let me know through the private chat that you don't seem to be being heard. Sorry about that again, man. It was just a lot of people. And then I watched RPG Pundits interview with George and Dave from Emperor's Choice instead of making a video for you guys this morning. But I was working on my map and other stuff for my new fantasy espionage game that I'm working on, and I just got carried away. And to be honest, I kind of spaced it until it was a little too late, and I'm like, oh crap, I was supposed to make a video. But don't worry, I got plenty of stuff coming for you guys the rest of the week. Uh, as always, I got a list of ideas here. Also, I have a game with DM Beelzebubba this evening, and I need to probably make up a new character because I'm about to lose yet another fighter to overwhelming odds. We're in a battle with some orcs, and my character is going toe to toe with an ogrillion or something like that. It's like half orc, half ogre. Twice my hit points, and there's like two or three more orcs about to bear down on me, and I got all of 3 hit points. And when I play fighters, I always dump stat wisdom, always run into combat, and I never retreat. It's a first level character. You know, uh, I put as much as I could into the personality, and while it would be great for the character to survive, we've got a group of like 9 players, and they can never agree on anything. And uh, my character is cousin to Eldrad Wolfsbane's character, and he said, "Let's charge into combat." Apparently, having a lower wisdom than mine or intellect, and family's going to do something stupid. I guess I'm gonna follow along. And most of the other party wanted to run, and we had just turned the tide of the battle. And uh, had we worked together, I think, yep, never give up, never surrender. I think if we would have worked together, uh, we wouldn't be looking at the fate we are. I mean, we're I think 3 games in, and I've earned all of about 6 gold pieces. So if it's going to continue to be this, uh, you know, uh, unprofitable, it's probably not the game for me. My time is too valuable, and we'll see. I am going to make up another character and see what happens. And if my character dies, I hope they take my stuff because I have a lot of good stuff and about 25 gold pieces, which would be, you know, one of the biggest windfalls we've received so far. Um, so, good on them. They get a bunch of, equipment, but they'll probably all run, like cowards. And, just when we started to win, they decided to run because the orcs were running. I'm like, well, no, we kill as many as we can so they don't go running off and destroy yet another town. We've already seen that. Quasimodo, my character had 10 clones kept in temporal stasis at all times. When I die, one of my wizard henchmen brought one of my clones to life. I've been in a lot of games like that where, death is no longer really an option, but we're first level. And we've been playing for 3 weeks, and to be honest, out of 9 characters, I think there's 2 fighters and a ranger, and everything. We've got a cleric, a thief, a magic user, and I forget what else. We really should have more fighters and more clerics than anything else, but you can't force people to play what they don't want to play. I don't play clerics, as you guys know, and Timmy Litholdus, he's playing, I think, the magic user. I'm not certain, or maybe he's playing the thief, and just you know, we'll see what happens. I could get lucky. I have a decent armor class, like 3 chainmail and shield. James, how you doing? Good stuff. Uh, Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night. I was talking about. I had a lot of fun. I won that lot of 10 Reaper, brand new Reaper minis for $30, uh, and they already printed the shipping label over the weekend, so hopefully it'll go out today. And I've got a bunch of other Reaper minis coming in, all metal. While I gave Reaper a bunch of shit for the crap they've been putting out, it's not metal. I love Rangers. Rangers are probably they were my first character I ever ran, or several of my first characters were Rangers, but I really like Magic User Thieves. We're doing mini SNL. Sure, why not? And I have some other things coming in. Yeah, I just don't like running them because it just gets in the way of my faith and stuff, and I don't want to spend more time uh, pretending to worship a fake god that's just a a copy of a copy. Very rarely are there ever any like original deities made by the DM, and even then, I wouldn't play them. I do make them for my games, but I do try to really hone in on the semi monotheistic orders. One true god, and then a bunch of upstart gods, so you can kind of worship the big guy if you so choose, or you could be a heretic and run one of the other ones. And, well, Paul, there should have always been a dedicated healer class, like in Dragon Magazine, a field surgeon, if you will. In lieu of that, uh, the most important resource in the game is healing. And if there's a profession that can have, pretty much, unfettered access to it, it's dumb, literally retarded not to have them. You want to play something else, that's cool, but don't expect healing potions. Healing potions are actually um, just as rare as finding an artifact in D&D. And like AD&D, the chances of finding a potion of healing are so insanely rare. And I'm not going to just seed the dungeons full of them so you guys, can survive. I roll random treasure, and not always, but more often than not, ask my players. Uh, there have probably been more +1 swords than healing potions. I'll throw in all kinds of evil clerics and cultists and stuff. I was just painting some the other day, just because they need bad guys to fight against. One of my favorite classes are actually paladins. To me, that's like almost all of D&D kind of goes back to stories of paladins. It depends on the religion, James. A lot of them, are are just vaguely disguised Thor cults, and you know, kind of bored with that. I was bored with that eons ago. If someone were to, make like a lawful good or neutral good creator god, cool. But I don't think I've ever seen one. But no, no. But I was actually a ranger too in the forestry department. Hey, what's up, Janet? So I know a thing or two about doing all that stuff, which is why I like them so much. But magic user thieves, uh, if you want power in the game, it's going to be through magic. If you want ultimate power, you're going to need magic items. And the best way to get those two things is to be a magic user who can steal shit. If you want to have a powerful character, then that's the route. Well, yeah, if your world is a mud sword economy world where things like that, everybody is dirt poor, sure, but a plus one sword, you know, first off, most of my players never sell magic items. They tend to save them or hand them down to their flunkies, which is what you're supposed to do. Um, but I don't have where every single town and village couldn't scrape up 20 gold pieces to save their life. It's a gold economy, not silver. It's a fantasy world, so it's not Earth, and it's not based on earthly restrictions, or perceptions. It's fantasy. It's usually high fantasy. Although the game I'm writing, or not game, the campaign I'm writing right now is more of a human centric, lower magic setting, um, because I want to emphasize the espionage aspect and the rooting out of evil and solving mysteries and things like that without magic doing it all for you, because like a speak with the dead or locate object spell can pretty much just tank all that and just well, the clue's over there, kind of things. Um, and I have ways of doing that without like limiting the experience points gain or the access to the normal spells except resurrection, which well, yeah, because if you're in the middle of the desert and there's not a river to be found, and no one has the ability to make water appear out of nowhere, then you might die of thirst. um, you know I can tell you right now literally how many bullets I own and of what caliber from memory. uh, Player characters should be able to do the same kind of math, and if that kind of bookkeeping is too much for them, then they're in the wrong fucking hobby. It's I can literally tell you what's on every shelf in my refrigerator, and its location. Um, Maybe I just have a really good memory, which is really surprising with all the things I've done in my life. But I can tell you where just about everything I own is, and I own a lot of shit. If players can't do the same, that's what the paper's for. uh, yeah, I was thinking about that. Everybody was saying, "Oh, monk wouldn't be a good mix for this campaign because I've got I need a paladin, a ranger, a cleric, a magic user, a thief, an assassin, and one spot left open." And I'm like, monk could work. Why? I don't know. Yeah, are you guys talking about the series Monk or something else? Because I did watch some episodes of that, um, but no, I think you guys are talking about something else. So I think that guy's name is Shalhoub, I think, and he just I just couldn't get into the story. It was too like awkward. It's probably the same reason I didn't like Napoleon Dynamite. Those weren't the kind of people I hung out with. I hung out with the cool kids, of course. No, I hung out with the metalheads and a lot of different groups, but for the most part, all my friends were long haired, leather jacket wearing, you know, ne'er do wells. My new campaign is high, low level magic, easy access to lesser scrolls and potions, but plus one weapons or armor are not off the rack items. Yeah, I don't usually do that either, but I do use the AD&D system of non weapon proficiencies. So if if you're forging a weapon or armor and you roll a 20, you made a plus one non magical whatever, and when your blacksmith is cranking out or his team is cranking out, half a dozen of those a month, then he's going to roll some 20s and they're going to be on the rack. They're not magical, but we were talking about it. We think some of my friends and I that plus two and better need to start with a item of quality to begin with. That way, it makes it easier on the actually getting a plus three sword or a plus two sword. You've got to start with something of quality. D&D monk is karate man. Uh, Cadfael, I hope I pronounced it right, was a former crusader. He was more life experience than magical punching things. Yeah, I don't know the show. It doesn't sound awful. Um, I like Dragon Slayer Monk for that role. I don't know what that is either. He would get very misty eyed about Jerusalem even during high winds. Okay, okay. Um, I my campaign is more like what would be a good. I'm taking a lot of stuff from the Magician Apprentice series, uh, and maybe obviously some imagery from the Assassin's Creed games, and the idea that the king has recruited personally a group of people he knows he can trust that are essentially kind of too young to be too deeply involved in any of the shenanigans that are going on in his kingdom and throughout the empire to put a stop to the the necromancers or the cultists or whatever's going on. Uh, Send me a link or I'll forget. Um, that's just the way I get hit with so many. Hey, watch this, read this, do that. If I don't have a link, because as soon as I end the show, I'll go check my Discord, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, check this out. Okay, I'll check that out while I'm doing my chores and things like that. Um, Past couple of days have been like where we live. It's like really hot, obviously, and really high up in altitude. So when it gets that hot, everybody's swimming pool evaporates, goes up into the sky, and wants to come back down as rain. But because it's also still super hot, it just makes it like really muggy and awful. But it does lower the temperature, keeping us from exceeding the 90s for the last week. But is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? Because I want to start riding my bike for like an hour a day after the show, and then get into my chores instead of uh, gelling out on YouTube or trying to write or doing other stuff. Necromancers would be more well liked if they raised skellies to do moonlighting, gardening, farming. Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that it just to do so is kind of evil. I mean, I could see like skeletons, being used as manual labor, but you got to wonder who's granting the power to do so, and if that power isn't going to, take control. Like when you're sleeping, your skeletons are doing shit that you don't want them to do because Orcus is like manipulating them to, to to do stuff that might get you killed or something. Like putting cyanide in your food or going out and poisoning other people's farms and stuff like that. Okay, what's up, Squirrel? I'm using item quality and special craftsmanship, elven and dwarven armor, elven gnomish clothing, dwarven hammers and battle axes. Uh, uh, yeah, I do that kind of with all things. Maybe big turnip would hire necromancers to undercut peasant labor. Um, Again, a couple of things. Skeletons, unless the magic like coats the bones with some sort of protective magic, they would possibly wear out, and grind down to where they just couldn't function because, different bones are, ground to non-functioning, or the power or the spell itself is, giving it, a lot more power than just that, more than just like a force field, moving it, um, there could very well be like a permanent tie to, the god of death or the god of undeath, and that some bitch is going to be watching through those skeleton eyes, keeping track of what his, you know magic's being used for, and that might be a really really bad thing to have around. I mean, I always found skeletons to be, both awesome and terrifying and kind of funny at the same time. I've grown up watching um, Jason and the Argonauts, the Sinbad movies, uh, Army of Darkness, that stuff. Even when I made my skeleton army from the Skeleton Horde box from Games Workshop back in the day, I posed many of my skeletons, uh, in ways that could kind of be taken as humorous or not your normal skeleton behavior. Like zombie, like more of like Army of Darkness with them, like, flipping you off and stuff like that. Um, Plague of the Zombies by Hammer Films covered that subject, but with mining, I never saw that one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to have really good bad guys to get the heroes to rise to the occasion. And I find, take care, Bloodworth. I'll see you tomorrow night or tomorrow morning. Armies like kobolds and goblins, and even orcs to some extent, depending on how you do them, to be kind of, either really ridiculous or not done, in a terrifying horror sort of method to where everybody should be absolutely terrified of them. So I tend to use things like undead, lizard men, hobgoblins, ogres, and giants led by ogre mage, and very intelligent other, like fire giants and things like that. Make them, like genius level, uh, almost like Nephilim sort of led armies, so that there's something behind the army, that even if the army is made up of, like mostly hill giants and ogres, those are just cannon fodder being, or shock troopers just being run through, the enemy's front lines to just, decimate and demoralize them, and then here comes the real army of, hundreds or thousands of fire giants and freaking, uh, plate mail and wielding magic weapons and shit to just, lay down the pain. I need to write something. I just had an idea for another show. Thanks, guys. Actually, it was an idea I was thinking about doing, but I just forgot to write the note down. But what it is, you'll have to wait and see. Um, Thanks, guys. Unfortunately, a lot of my show ideas are crafting show ideas, and I need to work on getting a new camera, something I can do overhead, like so many other YouTubers. But I don't know anything about any of that. And the last time I had a camera like that, the arm for it was How do I put it? Not very good. I still have it, but the clamp on the table. This table's kind of a cheap table, uh, and so the clamp would not hold. So I tried to just make it tighter and tighter and tighter, and all it did was like start to bend and crush the plastic table edge here. So I might have to get like a full, like not mic stand, but boom and everything like that. Dark elf led goblin army. I like dark elves just on their own with lizard riders or spider riders or better yet bat riders. Um, that will put the fear of their elven majesty into any opposing force. Or if not bats, I really like using like large pterodactyl like creatures. I remember all the old Kazar and Conan stories, and maybe some Tarzan, but I could be mistaken with things like that. There was a very famous Heritage Conan miniature of one of Conan's enemies on a flying reptile that was really hard to find. I have one now, but it was like really hard to find. And these days, I like just the other day I came across just the base for it. Someone was selling on that site that you James or Cal sent. I think it was Cal sent me a link to an internet site that was selling like old Grenadier and Ralpartha and Heritage miniatures and archive. And one of the things was just the base, and I'm like, yeah, I could see why that was actually the case because it wasn't a very good base, and a lot of people probably like resorted to making their own and make it better. Mm, But Demon World, oh, dude, that reminds me, I didn't go and look for that game. I've got that Demon World game from. I know for a fact it was Hobby Product, and I don't know who came up with that name. It's kind of dumb. Um, but it's in pristine condition, 15 millimeter, all kinds of templates and counters and a big giant map and stuff like that, and a big huge rule book in this nice box set. And I've never read it. I've glanced through it a couple of times. I often come across lots and piles of game materials that I'll just grab and go to town on and either resell or just pile away for occasions like this. And I could see playing that one of these days. Yeah, Cal is really on top of minis. There's very few people I've met that are at the same kind of dedication to finding and rooting out and learning about and picking up and owning like crazy stuff that you know most people most people just go, well, whatever, and toss it in the trash. But a few of us connoisseurs out there um, really know our history and what's a good thing, what's a bad thing. And I almost won some really cool. What were those things called? Those little frog guys, bullywugs. I think that's what they were. And they went for really cheap, but I was being a tightwad myself. And like uh, it was a good. The guy, whoever outbid me, got a good deal on some really cool, but almost a little too comical looking bullywugs. One last Metal Reaper Mini order. I'm good for the moment. I'm just looking for opportunities. There's another lot of 10 blister packs, but I think it's $40. But it's got like a couple in there. Out of 10 blister packs, like 2 to 3 of them are like $20 miniatures. Like bigger pieces. Or a piece with lots of stuff added to its base, and at 6-7 bucks on average. I pick up 10 for 50. You know, if I had to and resold them individually, I could sell them for $9.99 to $20.99. And triple or quadruple my investment, or have them for the shop and just put them on a spinner rack when I get there. The plastic kits I want for some creatures like elves haven't been made yet. hmm and every day we get a little bit closer to September, and then all you're going to hear me talk about is vampires for 3 months. So be prepared, folks. If you're tired and burnt out on vampires, you know, sorry, but that's what we're doing. But don't worry, we will be talking about werewolves and mummies and all the universal monsters and all things gothic and all that stuff. And I've got uh, I came across a couple of really really cool pieces of 3D printed terrain. And since it's FDM and it's just terrain, I'm not worried about anything, cracking or breaking or anything like that. And most of them are, things like tomb entrances and things like that I could use for a war game. I could use for a role playing games. Like, oh, you finally found the entrance, but lo and behold, some things are creeping and crawling out of the entrance as you get there, and then you fight your way to there, and then we move to something else. But some really cool pieces of terrain, as well as a couple of pieces. I've been noticing that there's pieces of terrain out there that would make for great, like, larger display stands. Imagine, like, you guys all remember the classic Ravenloft picture with von Strahd, standing and pointing or looking off on the horizon. I found this, well, actually, a couple of pieces of terrain where it would look really cool if you had, like, a general up there, looking out on the horizon, or a vampire, summoning his minions or something. It's just something to put like a couple of minis on and really sort of make them look, awesome for like $9. And I'm like, okay, maybe when I redecorate back here, I could have some of that stuff shown off, or I could just clear off one of those shelves and make like a little scene. Uh, could use a couple of ghouls and a ghast. Always love ghouls. 30 zombies and skeletons each. That's actually more than I have. I don't tend to like get large numbers of troop types, which I really should. I mean, unless you count Hero Quest. And okay, so I got 10 skeletons and 10 zombies. But Jackie got me that great set of, I think it was Atlantic War Games skeletons, where you got to glue everything, even the foot to the leg, which is, they're really nice if you want to have posability, but a pain in the ass if you don't like gluing feet to legs. Wouldn't mind that Cyclops Lich. Love a good Lich. That is dedication to the art. Yeah, I just saw a really cool undead troll, and trolls are one of my favorites. Although I'm like, how do you how do you do an undead troll without risking it just coming back to life, or does it like vampirically drain people of their hit points so it can grow? And again, if it's any kind of growing, any kind of regeneration at all, doesn't that lend itself to the idea that it could just come back to life? I don't know. It's kind of like the notion I've always wondered about vampires. Is there ever a point that they could drain enough blood that they could come back to life? Isn't that kind of like part of the premise behind their need and their hunger, or is it just insatiable and they can never get enough? Or if they got to a certain point, they're just going to be like me after a good meal, time to take a nap and then wake up hungry again. Yeah, they're they're one of the last potentially great metal miniature companies, and they're whoever's at the helm is just, you know being stupid or greedy, maybe even both, because we'll pay for metal miniatures. The market for metal miniature buyers is no different. It hasn't changed by much. The people that are going to take, you know, cheapness over quality are going to find out that eventually they're going to be paying the same for cheapness as they were for quality, and quality is gone. And if they're okay with their entire collections uh, deteriorating, before their very eyes, or not lasting long enough to hand them off to the next generation. If they're those kind of people, um, that sucks. The people that are truly into it. I mean, I have miniatures that have changed hands multiple times. Think about it. If I bought a miniature right now from the internet of a lead miniature made from the late '70s, early '80s, there's no telling how many people have owned it before me, and each one of those people owned it, enjoyed it, and then passed it on, just as I will do. I've had some minis uh, right out of the blister pack that I still have, but I've had for almost 50 years. Jackie will get them, and if he doesn't just off them, as soon as I kick the bucket, if he hangs on to them, they'll be around. They could be around like 100 years. If you look at a toy or almost anything that's 100 years old, there are people out there that will pay top dollar for that, just for the sake of the fact that it's not only an antique, but it's a part of history. If you go to someone's house, um, and you see like an old um, metal, toy soldier or figure or boat or whatever on their mantelpiece, and you say, hey, what's that? That looks kind of old. They'll probably have a very, very short story to tell you that they just saw it at a flea market, thought it was neat and bought it. Or they can tell you, well, that used to be my grandpa's when he was a boy. You know, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of, it's got some history. It's got some emotion, and if you believe in any sort of uh, ideas where items can hold on to psychic energy or anything like that, or just by virtue of it having been passed down from family member to family member, that it makes it, you know at least to you and your family, something very valuable. I have a few things, very few things from when my mom and dad were alive, things they owned, and to me they're irreplaceable. Just like photographs. Sometimes those old photos, you can't get those images back, but having them in a photo album or something like that uh, can be very, very helpful. I have a few photographs of my family, um, and sometimes that's all we get to hang on to. Uh, Maybe the same properties as a very strong zombie with a reserve of remnant poison. One of the last American makers, maybe artisan, crusader, cobblestone, alternative armies all make cool metals. You have Eureka there. I don't mind getting metal minis, from overseas, as long as like I did buy some North Star, and those were nice. I have bought some. I thought alternative armies was in the UK. I'm looking at some West Winds and a couple other uh, companies outside the states, and I don't mind getting them, but I prefer if I don't have to buy them from over there and have to pay the crazy shipping. Like I was telling you, James, one blister pack from West Wind or whoever that company is, it was $19 for shipping for a single blister pack. The blister pack was $14. No, no, I'll pass. That's just that's just too crazy. When China, for some reason, uh, I bought some 3D prints from them last week, free shipping. That's not right. Ian from Irregulars retired at 98. Wow. Right, exactly. The old toy soldiers and toy cars and airplanes and just all kinds of weird, little rocking horses or whatever, things from back then. There's still people who appreciate all those things. What's up, Steven? Right, that's what I was talking about. Do they believe that there's a spirit or a kami after about 100 years of use? Well, made chair, for example, or swords and all kinds of things like that. I personally don't think there's anything to it, but there is uh, something about being able to pass something down from generation to generation, family to family. Um, just to give those people who are yet to be born or whatever some sort of idea of what your family was interested in or about or what their hobbies were. And hey, like a lot of our last names come from what we did, you know um and that was for a reason. It was to pass that down. uh Chris, that's pretty funny. Maybe not though. Maybe they view it as their purpose in life, and they're happy to do their job, do their duty. um, Most UK companies will prepay your tariffs as part of the total, which allegedly works out cheaper. Yeah, I just read that Archon Studios is paying for the tariffs on the last Kickstarter that I paid, which should be here in by the end of August, which means I need to make some room. Unfortunately, I also read that fuckers, uh, Flying Frog Production, who made Shadows of Brimstone, one of my favorite games of all time, from Jackie and I, just freaking love everything about that game. But they're not even close. Archon Studio, from start to finish, about a year, usually about a year for a Kickstarter, from the time it funds to the time it gets into my hands, at tops a year and 3 months. Okay, Flying Frog has taken up to 2 or 3 years, and while they do a lot of printed material with their miniatures, um, Archon Studios still manages to pump out more for cheaper, for faster, because they don't go through China. Just saying. Uh, my surname comes from the Danish, which means to dye cloth. Okay, see, so you could get into the tie dye business and make your ancestors happy. What's up, Sword and Stones? I'm alive. Um, right? Either way, it's neat to be able to pass this stuff down, or at least hope that other people that you may never meet uh, will will keep your memory alive. Will look at old pictures and see your stuff, and ask your parents or your grandparents, what was great grandpa like. He kept all these things, and here we have them still to this day. And you know grandpa, you played with him as a kid, and my dad played with him as a kid, and now I'm playing with him as a kid. That's freaking neat. um, so many people out there really want us to apparently fill up the planet with landfills full of cheap garbage that had their limited time in the sun, and then get thrown away. That we used to make everything to last, and the further back you go, the more you see that was the case. I mean, the pyramids and castles and stone buildings, they're still alive. And this house that I'm in, it's maybe 20 or 30 years old, but it won't last 100. It won't last 75 before someone tears it down and wants to build something else. And probably out of cheaper and shabbier materials. I lived in a house a long time ago that was a little bit, only a little bit older, but I could see, having done repairs on it for my parents, and things I remember about it. It was a lot of things about it were, sturdier. Whereas this house, it's got some structural flaws, and some, shortcuts were taken. Swords and Stones games and toys legacy handed down is awesome. I wish I had that for me. Right? My parents, uh, they didn't have the ability to hand stuff like that down, but they did hand down a lot of really cool knowledge and information and habits, and a few things that have like I show these off all the time. This is only one of them. This set of files. The set of files was my dad's, and he got it when he was about 16, and I'm just under 60, so that makes this almost what almost 100 years old. And I've got the other 9 or 8. I'm missing one in the package that they came in, and I use this one almost every day. And I'll keep using it for a good long time. The Thessalonians you're fighting, he's the bigger man I've seen. I wouldn't want to fight him. Achilles responds, "That's why no one will ever remember your name." Nice. I was born in '65, so not much like we have to pass on today. Not true. I have, and I saved for my son, like all my Micronauts and Star Wars action figures. Now, for a lot of people, that's like whoop de doo, right? But if you were to put them on eBay right now, individually, each item, or each action figure with its gun or whatever, sell them, and you knew what you were selling, and you knew how to, you know, make it and present it, in the proper fashion. Uh, Probably easy 10 grand for, you know, maybe 20 hours of work for, setting up the ads, taking the photographs, maybe even less, and travel time packing and taking to the post office. And if you do it right, you can get the post office to come to your house to pick the stuff up. So you never know uh, what you might have. If you know what it is, or you're willing to do the research to find out what it is and you want to resell it, uh, there are always people out there, that show. American Pickers is a perfect example. Uh, those guys would go, maybe a lot of it was fake, I don't know, but they would go from place to place buying just old freaking signs and stupid crap like that most people would be like, whoop de doo, I don't care, I don't want it, it's garbage. But there's some weirdo out there willing to pay top dollar for that California license plate from 1972. Why? I don't know. Maybe because to them they like the aesthetic, the look, the memories it brings back. Uh, awesome. You go into somebody's house or like those restaurants that have all that weird stuff nailed to the walls to give you stuff to look at. Um, they do that for a reason because it works psychologically. It gives us something to do and makes us want to go back to those places. Um, my triangle file and the rounded file are my two go-to files. I have those. I have it's a set of 10 files, so I've got them. But the half round is the only one I ever need because it's got a flat edge, it's got a round edge, it's even got like kind of like the angle that you'd get, you know, along the top or the bottom. Although there's a lot of super glue, I gotta drop this in some goop and melt that off. But it works. It can work as a triangular file. It can even, because of its point, work as a rasp, for a drilling motion. And it's all I ever use. But if I was going to add another one, it would be the rasp or the rat tail file. I have a ton of stuff to pass on now as I can buy them as an adult, but unfortunately nothing from my childhood other than my OG AD&D game books. Well, that's not entirely true. Um, like some of the things that I did hand down to Jackie, I did buy for him while he was a baby and saved for him to play with later. Some of the Star Wars toys and a few Micronauts, like the Palisades things, that they didn't exist when I was a child. And when I was looking around, I saw those, and I'm like, oh, he would definitely love to play with those, and I would love to watch him play with those. So buy it now, and in doing so, I actually picked up a one of 1 in 3 prototype figure that's worth about 5 grand now. Um, and you can just throw that on eBay, still sealed, autographed, etc. Somebody out there will eventually offer him, 2 or 3 grand, and as long as he, makes $100, it's all profit, right? I do have and use miniature size Dremel as well. I need to break out my Dremel and or at least get like a smaller one. I really like those really small pen sized ones. That's something I could really use a lot more than a big Dremel. The one I have, it's funny. I've had this Dremel since I was about 23 or 24. An ex girlfriend got it for me, right? And I put it in my toolbox and and forgot about it for like 20 years. And I went and I found it. It was in the bottom of the toolbox. And I'm like, huh, I wonder if it still works. Sure enough, some bits it works fine, but it's pretty high powered and pretty heavy. And putting it in here, if I were to run it up here, the wife would be like, "What are you doing?" That kind of shit. So when I do use it, it's kind of a big deal. I got to set it up and set up a place to use it. And the ones I was looking at, they're like the size of an electric toothbrush with all kinds of functions, and it's something I could just you know it takes up a lot less space. Um, what I meant is my parents didn't have the kind of stuff to pass on. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, they didn't have toys per se because they were both in wheelchairs. So their entertainment ended up being books and guns and things like that, not stuff they could get on the floor and play with like we did. Yeah, I bought several sets of dental tools over the years. I gave one to one of Jackie's friends. One I think it was Christmas or her birthday. I gave her a box of modeling clay, like a whole bunch of packages of modeling clay and some dental tools, and she just freaking lost her shit when she saw all that. And of course, the mom was like, "Look at it's gonna make a mess." Well, then clean it up, bitch. You got nothing better to do, or you can go in the kitchen, shut up, and make us a sandwich. Um, but they're really easy to use and find, and um, I don't do as much sculpting as I used to, but it's still fun to use them. And it's funny though, the only one we never use is the little dental mirror that comes with it. I'm like, what? When am I ever going to use that? Right? Uh, Back to pretending to work. Take care, Sword and Stones. I will see you maybe tomorrow. Have a great day. I'm I'm just about done painting all of the Reaper dungeon dwellers that I got from the Kickstarter. I've got this guy left. Still working on that main eye, trying to do some layered stuff to get the eye to really look, you know, like magical by using some metallics and things like that. And then I've got the dragon. It's not bad, um, and it's not a 3D print, which I was really happy because it's got one solid mold line on the bottom. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, it's still resin technically, but it's not a 3D print. Um, but I haven't decided what color to paint it. And then I've got this harpy that we couldn't find anywhere. Mac Thompson wanted to buy one, and I'm like, it's not even on the Reaper site. So it's like, but it's just nasty as shit. Just it's the ugliest looking thing ever. Um, and then I've got the 4 character minis that, like, here's the dwarf, just super, super ridiculously chunky compared to um, the Wicked Witch from the same company. I mean, it's just too uh, misproportioned, and the other heroes are all super feminine. one of the only two male characters is this elf in a dress. I just can't get into them to want to paint them. The halfling is okay, even though it's also female. It doesn't really look like it, so it's not bad. It's probably one of the better of the four that I could see using, uh, in a game versus the other ones. But just human female fighter. Like, really? I mean, talk about fantasy. That's a woman in plate mail. I'm sorry, but that's like it's more than one in a million that you literally get a woman. It's like, yeah, I want to put on a suit of freaking armor and march, off the war. Said no woman ever. Even Joan of Arc didn't say it. She just did it, and she didn't like think, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want from my life is to, you know, you know what I mean. It's just I know it's a fantasy game, but you know, are you going to rewrite everything about anyways, I didn't see a video earlier in the day. There was no video because I was up late listening to RPG Pundit's review or interview with George and Dave from Emperor's Choice, and I was working on my fantasy espionage campaign. Plate weighs as much as a U.S. soldier's modern pack, right? And then you got to throw the pack on as well. So right, and unless you have a donkey or a horse, right? I know there's a lot of misconceptions, but that's most female players go, but I want to run Joan of Arc. Well, okay, so you want to die at what 17 after horrible things are done to you? Yeah, I don't. No, we're not doing that. You want to run a ranger? Okay, that's fine. Even a female barbarian, okay, that makes more sense. But like the sword and board, plate mail, chainmail kind of soldier, you know what they say about modern female soldiers. What do you think they're going to say about back in the day female soldiers? She's going to be a chew toy for the rest of the men. You know what I mean? And nothing she can do about it. Once they're out in the wild, men are going to do what men do, and you know, just saying, especially uncivilized, middle ages men. It's not going to be pretty. And I know it's supposed to be a fantasy, but there's only so much I could, stretch reality. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's more fun, it makes more sense, and there's something still feminine about those. If you have a woman who's a sneak thief, I can make some jokes, but I'm not gonna because I'm done with that for now. But you can see there's still something feminine and something, you know, humorous or cute or like, okay, yeah, I gotta watch my back. Okay, got it. I catch you, I'm gonna break your arm. But yeah, and magic users. I know I've got this book, this great book, James, 20,000 Years of Fashion that an ex left in my possession, and it shows going back 20,000 years of what people used to wear, and um, yeah, in some places they would have uh, punished you for trying to even do so, and I mean throughout the world, women trying to dress like that um, would get you in a lot of trouble. And I know there's a lot of stories, but there's like one story per culture of one woman doing that kind of activity, right? You got Mulan, you got that woman pirate, you've got Joan of Arc, and a few others, but you don't get like a full, run of that being commonplace for hundreds of years after that those individual stories. You know what I mean? But you can handle an OP two hander wielding woman in a 1 in 1,000 exception. But the problem is, though, James, it's more than 1 in 1,000. It's like 1 in 20. Every other woman's like, yeah, I want to do that. I'm like, um, you know, uh, the problem is you can't punish them in any way, shape, or form for doing that without them feeling like you're doing something wrong. Trying to throw in some realism. Uh, just as the opposite would be true if you had a guy coming to the game saying, I want to run a cross dressing male. Um, every one of your players would be like, can you not invite this guy back to the table? Right, but you have to explain. It's like, well, here's the thing: no matter how strong you are, if you're hanging out with nothing but fighterly types, because you're a fighter, but you're a woman, bad things are going to happen. And to rewrite all the laws of history and physics and nature to make you feel comfortable isn't fair to everybody else, because they're going to feel like you're getting special treatment because you are. The men don't have any of those you know limitations. Therefore, putting any of those limitations to even things out would be unfair, because you're rewriting history and all those things, just because one person wants to do something that was never ever done before, um, for obvious reasons. It's not like you don't want them, to have a good time or you have a cool character, but if somebody tried to do that in those situations, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, if you look into today's modern military, and what happens to female soldiers eventually if they stay in the service long enough, you'll find out why the military doesn't want it. And um, it's not really natural. They're supposed to do the exact opposite of risking their lives. They're supposed to be back home making sure that there's lives to risk in the future. The same thing with, like the like I was saying earlier about pirates. There's a reason you didn't have women on ships back in those days, because there was nowhere for them to run. You know what I mean? And we don't want to talk about it, and now we can't even use the R word to try to explain why they didn't do those things, because we weren't as evolved, we weren't as cultured or civilized, or maybe the opposite. And you put one or two women on a ship full of men who have been out to sea for a long, long time. What do you think is going to happen, really? Uh, uh, but they thought she was mental for dressing in a masculine way. Sure, and you know, uh, invariably those stories, um, some of them at least were. The women were doing what they were doing to hide the fact that they were a woman, so those terrible things wouldn't happen to them, right? You know, as a defense mechanism. If you just thought that was just a dude, there's a really really slim chance that anybody was going to try and do something and leave him alone. But then when they found out, one thing, there's one thought that ran through everybody's mind back then: hey, when's it my turn, right? And we don't want that in our games. And if We're supposed to just like act like monsters and bad guys don't do bad things. Well, that's the one bad thing they won't do because of reasons. Well, why can't we just say that about murder then? Oh, nobody murders anybody. Because that's ridiculous. You wouldn't even have a game, right? All the murder hobos, would be elsewhere. All the kleptomaniacs. There's no stealing. Nobody's ever stolen anything in my world. What? You fucking mental? You retarded? You got to have the good. You got to have the bad. Unfortunately, with free will and all things being equal, so to speak, you're going to have that one bad thing also that nobody wants at the table. But the best way to keep it off the table is to keep the opportunity for that to happen to a minimum. Uh, right, but in the 14th, 15th, 12th, 11th, ninth, what prior to that, and that's only what, less than 200 years ago. So out of tens of thousands of human history, years of human history, um, only 200 of them were grape free, and that was on an ocean liner. Everywhere else, it was still pretty much uh, hit or miss. So that's really not you know a long track record of safe travels. And you got a bunch of people uh, traveling overland, from point A to point B, and point B is that dungeon. If you've ever been camping, just camping with a bunch of people, that after a couple of days, people start trying to hook up, even with the most, normally uninviting, hookups, or matches, I should say. People start to do that, kind of like the workplace hookups. After a certain amount of time, someone or you or whatever is gonna hook up with someone that you probably shouldn't, but you're doing so because of all the time you spend together. And why do you think that was the case, Dino Laser? Because there were no women on board. If there were women on board, they would be doing that. But because there weren't, they did the other thing, uh, right? Because you can't stop people from doing those things. Um, the best way is to keep them apart, or to give them so many regular normal opportunities at those activities, so that it's not felt like it's being withheld from them. When you're alone, or at sea, or in prison, or isolated like that, it starts to become like the only thing they think about, because it's the only thing they can't have access to. This of the past was pure savagery. Conception of history is a bit mixed bag, though. Yeah, there are other examples where, right, but you're talking about, you know, like I said, hit or miss. Some places in the world, it's never changed. Okay, and is that because of culture, or biology, or uh, why are there places, like I said, literally, where every day since the beginning of time, grape has been just a part of life. Other places, it's like, oh my god, we don't do that. You know, um, it's every situation is different, but there's a whole lot of places, almost, there's nowhere on the planet that doesn't still happen. So, until that day comes, I'm going to have to assume that it's still a possibility. And when you're dealing with like things like orcs, or goblins, or giants, or dragons, all of which have at least one story of their uh, wanting to do things that they shouldn't do, besides just eat people. Because it's a hobby, a game, whatever. We're supposed to like take that out, but at the same time, we're hanging out with people with intense senses of humor and uh, uh, behaviors, because one, you're usually dealing with men who've been good friends for a long time, so their humor is pretty dark and their jokes are pretty off color. That these people aren't going to be like thinking, well, we better be careful. We're in orc country, and Melissa over here, you know, better stay close to the party, because someone might try to some orc might try to haul her off for later, right? That's the problem is, even if you make your civilized societies civilized, the bad guys are going to be bad. So we're supposed to believe that the vampires and the dragons and the orcs, etc., things famous for trying to do those kinds of things, are not going to do them, because it's a uh, that's part of the fantasy that we absolutely uh, you know need to keep you know from it turning into some sort of gore fest. Uh, Scythian warrior women were formidable horse riding nomads of the Eurasian steppe, 9th to 1st century BCE, who fought, hunted, and where are they now? They don't exist because it was proved that there was better ways to do it. Even if they were still doing it today, they'd be in the minority. And I can't imagine what that society would be like, where you juxtapose the men and women's roles. Are the men, now the homemakers, or are they also warriors? And why do you need so many warriors if you're not warring with people? And what happens if one of those units uh, gets captured or something like that? What do you think's going to happen? They're going to take them and they're going to make examples of them, and uh, you'd find, just like or you might, just like we were willing to trade. What was his name? The merchant of war or whatever. That guy we traded. Uh, that trans basketball player for this freaking war criminal with Russia, right? Um, I don't know if she was trans or not, but we traded this female for a mega criminal, because our morals are such that we knew if we didn't, what would happen. Mhm. And again, where are they now? You don't find too many places that do that without all the risks. But you know, it's one of those things that I don't know. It's there's only so much suspension of my disbelief I'm capable of. I don't know about you guys. Maybe a little more. Maybe uh, to uh, appease someone or care about who wants into the hobby. I get it. I'm just devoid of that at the moment, and don't see any change in that ever. If women want to play, cool. Do the work. Read the book. Come at me with a character concept. You're welcome to join. But just like everybody else, if you're not going to read the book, um, don't bother me. Hold on. I'm trying to read your comment there, James. Not sure what the conclusion is other than frontline. It's not. It's not. I mean, I'm okay with if like somebody else is running the world and they want to do that and have that, um, but they're just going to pretend like the other stuff isn't happening. Um, I'm going to start pushing the other boundaries. It's like, well, if we're not, paying any attention to, most things that are normal and natural. Where does that? What are the boundaries? Okay, this is okay and this is okay and this is okay. So if I, try some crazy shit, don't be surprised. Uh, where are the Vikings now? Where are the Roman legions now? Well, yeah, but most of the stuff they did and do, the traditions are still alive. Nothing in D&D makes sense if you start dissecting ideas. No continent could support like 80 different tool using species. That's why they should all, at one point or another, go to war and weed out the weaklings. Dino Laser. I do that all the time. As a matter of fact, in the world I'm working on, there's a thing on the map that's the result of a war, just to kind of prove that point. You can't have uh, that. But not only that, though, I rarely put more than like half a dozen on the same continent. I'm okay with having multiple continents where these guys grew up here and these guys grew up there. Like the lizard men are always always on some continent that's like kind of far away, and you might get there, you might not. Um, where they just they grew up, evolved or whatever, on their own, and they had their own place. And then when humans and them and or elves or dwarves or whatever they meet, uh, you get different possible outcomes. Just like I sometimes do the same thing with orcs and giants, and I'll put them on their own place, where they all. Uh, um, just inclined to make the people with the upper body strength melee oriented. Someone jokes about another player being abused. They should develop some social skills. With a lot of the people I hang out with, we make bad jokes. We're between friends, and we've all made off-color jokes, and that's what it really is. You know, as it is, if you roll your stats straight down the line like you're supposed to, um, even if you don't, you know, let's say if you do, you're never really likely to have a lot of female fighters. You're more than likely to have their high stats, or their one high stat, which is really more likely in one place that would kind of dictate what they are, as a profession. Uh, that's exactly what I was saying there, James. Lizard men always live in fantasy South America, or fantasy Africa, or fantasy Egypt. You're absolutely right. I started having all the monster races be primarily subterranean, so the surface land doesn't get overcrowded. Well, yeah, most of the really good ones, the orcs, the goblins, the kobolds, uh, lizard men, pretty much should live underground. And we all know women don't play D&D, just nerds. That's also very very true, uh, and that's the way it's always going to be. Maybe another 100 years from now, 50 years from now, the percentages will go up and kind of level out. But for the most part, I really don't see that happening. Because if you look at modern trends, uh, what they're interested in gets further and further and further and further from anything involving reading or any intellectual pursuits. Um, it's really kind of sad. I feel really bad for the younger generations. They're going to have absolutely no way of connecting if things continue. That's a lot of food to grow without sunlight. Well, if they're entirely carnivores, then they don't have to worry about that. They can always find something to eat. They can go up at night and hunt, you know, on the surface world, or they can hunt each other or other things, or Maybe they eat a lot of mushrooms and fungus and things like that. I don't know. Uh, I do that every once in a while. I've had a couple of floating cities, probably like three over the years. Sub Shadow, have you played the Alien RPG by Free League? Yes, I have. We played it on the Saturday night show a couple of months ago with Omanal, Off Grid Gamer, George from Rooster Gaming, and myself, and it was fun. But it's one of those things that if I played it, I would like play it in person. We're gonna play, uh, a couple of one shots here and there. Running a campaign would be very very difficult, and um, uh, I find that any game where um, your chance of survival is, let's say, less than 20%, I'm not interested. Uh, I don't need the difficulty level that hard. The dice are already, not in your favor ever. And if all it takes is one bad roll to end your entire, you know, character's life and all the time that you put into that, we all, whether we like to admit it or not, optimize for uh, not just enjoyment but survival, so that we get to play the same character as long as possible, so that the time isn't wasted. But if it's going to guarantee or be a 1 in 6, 1 in 5 chance of survival, um, and I really need an alien fix, I'll just watch the movies. Okay, cool. One person out of 10 survived. Um, the likelihood that would be me without having to do some screwed up shit in those games. It's like, what was the point? I've played a lot of hard games, a lot of games where, you know, total party kills. Lost 5 characters in 2 separate sessions. I lost 4 or 5 characters in one day, and it was all first level, no big deal. One where they were like ninth to 15th level characters. Boom, one would die, bring in another, die, bring in another. So I've seen some of the worst results of really hard level play. Uh, Not asking for easy mode, asking for just midline, 50-50 on you know a lot of things, not necessarily guaranteed survival, but not wasting my fucking time. I'm almost 60, and if I'm going to sit down to a game, uh, there's nothing fun about making a character and dying at first level, and making another character and dying at first level. What's the point? Where's the enjoyment? What am I supposed to enjoy? I'm supposed to enjoy the dying, enjoy the challenge. What challenge? There is no challenge. The challenge is going back to the table. It's like, yeah, this is really just a waste of time. I could literally do like anything, and I'm going to have better chances of having fun uh, than this. You know what I mean? If I just take a nap, I'm going to have a better time. If I, go do some charity work or I mow the lawn, it's going to be more fun than struggling against something I know I can't defeat. That's fucking stupidity. That's literally insanity. Um, yeah, an alien campaign would be very not impossible, but very difficult. I remember some fantasy story where disasters separated the elements. Uh, Wish I could remember the name. If you ask ChatGPT, they will find it for you. I found uh, a book that I didn't remember just by describing like one sentence, and it found it, and I'm like, wow, in like the blink of an eye. Shadow mentioned, funging crops, cannibalism, hunting, but mainly raiding the surface. It sucks in the underarm. That's why they keep trying to invade the surface. Yeah. Yeah. Call of Cthulhu is the usual go to. Why? Why? I mean, I know I'm going to die. I know I can't win. I'm doing this why? No, really, why? To experience what? Uh, a wasted time. I get to play as so and so for a little while. So and so would live his life completely different if you know they had any knowledge. Once they find out, the thing, there's something unnatural going on. The duty is not to try and solve it yourself. The duty is to warn as many people as possible. Let the whole freaking world know that, hey, these things are real. That's where all these notions fail. Thinking you could take it on yourself where no one else has ever done it before, no one else has ever succeeded, now it's on you. That's fucking stupid. Uh, I've heard that light shafts reflected with bronze mirrors don't really provide that much light. It would seem to me that it would be easier to make some sort of like magical solar collecting thing, but at the same time, all those things hate sunlight and it hurts them and debilitates them. So you would think that if they're going to survive, they're going to have plenty of uh, staples, whether it be underground fish and things like that, or insects or worms or fungi. You got to make like a huge ecosystem to make it make sense, because if the creatures uh, yeah, yeah, or you do worry about it, dino, and you go to great lengths to make it viable. In which case, the more viable you make it, the less reason they have to even be known by the surface world. You got to kind of like give them a reason to raid the surface world, and have the player characters have to go down and solve the problem, find out who's raiding the surface world from below. And then you get your dungeons and your cavern crawls and things like that. And propane accessories, absolutely. Um, or maybe you have like the cenotes, where you have these big cave openings in the ground where the sun grows the plants, but as soon as the sun goes away, the people can go and harvest them at night or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you want to, we used to play what we call victim games, where you're going to die. It's just to see who lives longer. Okay, uh, with those parameters in place, it's we know we're just going to see who's the last one standing. There's a great game called King of the Hill. It's the same thing. So that desire to do that kind of a thing, it makes perfect sense. Um, but I can't do that every single time. If that was the case, and I knew every game going into this hobby was going to be that, I'd find another hobby. Watching sports, there's a chance your team's going to win. And if you watch it long enough, your team will win. And if you watch it long enough, your team will win all the way to the end of the year and win the Super Bowl or whatever. With that kind of opposite thinking and mentality of gaming, where it's hard for the sake of being hard, and as difficult as possible. um, there's nothing to win. There's literally, everything you do, the DM is just going to destroy, because you're on hard mode. What the fuck's the point? What do you get out of it in the long run? Say, yeah, I beat so and so the DM. Who? Yeah. No one's gonna, at the end of your life, no one's gonna, know that you beat that one killer DM. You lasted the longest in his campaign. No, it's not what you're gonna be thinking. You're gonna be thinking, why did I waste so much time hanging out with that jackass? Right? Uh, no, no worries, Grandma. I hope everything's going well with everything. We had a lot of fun Saturday. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you in the next Saturday game, uh, with Mike and Jan and OGGM, etc. Did you watch the show? Did you watch his game? Yes, variety to keep it. Guess I got to do. I've got a touch screen on my. There we go. But sometimes it, yeah, it only works if I use the cursor. Some of your videos, there's a perceptible hum of Jackie singing in the shower. You have to listen. Sometimes you don't have to like really. And it's either in the shower or in his bedroom because we live in the Brady house where there's two bedrooms that meet at a bathroom, and there's a door here to that bathroom, and then you can go through another door into his room, which is over there. So sometimes you're hearing him sing in the bedroom when he's got headphones on and doesn't realize everybody can hear him, or he's in the shower and doesn't care. But he's also got his keyboard right outside this door, and he's getting a new keyboard, which reminds me, James, he's trying to decide between two, and maybe you can give him some advice. I think one's a Casio and one's like a Yamaha, and of course we want to go with Yamaha because better, or it used to be better, and he wants to go with Casio because there's more stuff he can do with it for recording. Let's see what else we got going on here. A giant evil artifact machine that just keeps spitting out endless hordes of monsters. Yeah, every world needs one of those. I listened on Saturday when I could. Okay. Sometimes he really is singing quite loudly. He just doesn't give a shit who's listening. Will do. I don't even know if we have them though. We just know that they're at our local guitar center. He'd probably just send you the I don't know. I'll tell him. I told him, yeah, if he had any questions, and I think he said he would, but um, he also got a new like drawing tablet, so he's been like all focused on that. Um, yeah, well, because he's got something I don't know what it is out here, obviously. That's very nice, but he wants one that has the full 88 keys, and he wants to be able to do a lot of different things. So, you know, it's his 18th birthday, so he can get away with, you know, a little spoilage. But 19th birthday, forget about it. From here on out, it's like you got to start, doing your own shit. We can't be there for every expense, especially when I never see you. You got to start, pulling your own weight. Yeah, I remember growing up when Casio was like the bottom of the you know tier list of quality. I don't know if that's changed. Um, they started out as what like a calculator company, and over the years, even I've had a couple of a little keyboard things that I picked up here and there. Uh, 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 he will learn that it's socks and underwear for the next 64 years. Well, something like that. Yeah, it's not going to be me. I never birthdays and Xmas after 18 equals socks, underwear, and ties. Maybe, or maybe he'll learn from some of the lessons we've taught him to try to, think about who you're shopping for, and do them right. They'll do you right. Cassie occasionally do a cool, quirky machine. Their new sample looks like a calculator and is really cool. we never really we had excuse me, we had one guy who played keyboards in one of the bands early on, and he could do some you know interesting things back in the 80s, right around the time Rush's Signals came out. But then lost touch with him, and from that point on, it was a couple of guitars, bass guitar, drums, singer. That's it. For a while there, a lot of the people I hung out with absolutely freaking hated them. When bands like Van Halen started adding keyboards to some of their music, but yet they're perfectly fine listening to Led Zeppelin or uh, Yes, full of keyboards. But when Van Halen decided to add little keyboards to get with the technology, they lost their ever loving minds. It's like my favorite bands have always had a keyboard player in them. Blue Oyster Cult, obviously, Golden Earring, stuff like that. There's so much you can do with them. I mean, it's and then of course we got New Wave, and sometimes that's all they had. Steve Winwood. I mean, I don't know if he ever actually worked with a real drummer after Blind Faith. Did he? Those synth guys have probably been replaced by a no. Someday, yes, you guys will, but for the moment, there's still people out there that like the idea of their music being produced and created by real humans that you can talk to and have a drink with or meet or stuff like that, instead of just a program that's designed to make more programs. Is like then they're going to just make programs to listen to the programs. Uh, gifts for us, gifts for us once we hit 18 were grocery store gift cards to give us a break from rice and beans. Um, okay, that's rough. I do get occasionally a gift card here or there from family who have no idea what to get me. But then I have family that gets me the same thing every year. I have like boxes of watch caps, beanies, gloves, um, t-shirts, sweatpants, and probably cologne. The razors that I get, I always use those up. So keep sending me razors. Although I'm looking at a straight razor and strop as we not as we speak, literally, but on my uh, YouTube search or eBay searches, I'm looking for a good straight razor and strop setup. Hawkwind, yeah, of course, because Blue Oyster Cult, Michael Moorcock convergence there. I always liked the keyboard and guitar pedal combo. Me too, but I'm also a huge fan of the saxophone or any horn section. We need to bring that back uh, because that's like one, they make music unlike other instruments, but I noticed that watching Jackie and his bands perform at school, that the people that were in band were more dedicated than some of the other students at whatever it is they were doing. You could just tell their demeanor and uh, their presence and the way they carried themselves, that they were serious about uh, music as opposed to it just being a side thing like a lot of guitarists tend to be. Yeah, my wife was amazed at church a couple of weeks ago that I caught. I don't play any instrument really. I tried, but that I caught a note uh, that was off. It's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, been listening to a lot of different kinds of music all my life, over 50 years of really paying attention. I told James the other day, I got this little Snoopy radio for like birthday or Christmas from one of my grandparents at like age 9 or 10. And it ran on 9-volt batteries. So from that point on until it broke, it was always on. I was listening to this radio station uh, just 24/7. It was always on. If it wasn't on, it was because I was listening to TV or something else. What's up, Dean? Come on down. You're the next contestant.
Hello, everyone, and hey, Shadow.
Hey, how
And
you been, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm just starting on some heart pressure medication. Nothing too serious.
Okay, well, good luck and stay healthy, man.
Yeah. As for the stream here, I heard you are finally done talking about why you shouldn't get on a boat. So I thought I will jump in.
Yeah. It's just well, it was more about female characters and uh, their demands they put on a game, really,
Oh yeah,
without being, they want things, but they're not willing to suffer the consequences. And I'm like, yeah, I don't mind. What I do mind though, getting gifts, and it's a big thing in Latin culture, is to get the box set of soap, deodorant, a bunch of those things, all of which, obviously keep you clean, but obviously also go out of your way to make you smell different, or more pleasant. It's like, here, you stink. Here's some deodorant and some soap. It's like, I get it where they come from. Like, it's a big deal to be able to go, here's this box with all these things you're going to buy anyways, but in a matching ensemble, here you go.
yeah. I know I
I
like
know
that.
nothing. We know nothing about you, but we know you're human. It's like, here, you probably could use this. It's like, could you just like save the money and get yourself something nice next time? Uh, I mean, if you're gonna just softball it in there, like, I go out of my way. People I hang out with 4 times a year, but when I get them a gift, I go out of their way. It's like, what do they like? What are they drinking these days? What do they like? What are they into? Not once, I would literally die of a heart attack and shock were they to ever buy me an actual book. You know what I mean? Uh, I've been in their homes. They don't own books. There's no books in their house. Like, you don't own a single book. Oh, might have one for the car.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that, but they're usually not Danish.
Last Christmas birthday gift, my birthday was close enough to Christmas. When I was 13 years old. A pair of work boots, good quality, and my work permit. No exaggeration, no lie. I know what you mean. I had my first work permit at 14 or something like that. I was actually working as a telemarketer. Yeah. It makes us who we are. And before that, I worked cutting cypress trees or spider farms with no work permit because they just said, "F it."
It was back then, yeah.
Yeah. And
But
I,
yeah,
I have several
Shadow.
pair of good work boots. Go ahead.
But yeah, Shadow. I agree with you about giving people soap and deodorant. Like unless it's like something fine thing, it's kind of like thanks. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
It's the most impersonal thing. It's like, I'm obligated to get you something here. Gift cards are at least a step up from that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, here, you probably paid this much for your gift for me. Here, let's just. I got a better idea. Let's just not do that and not act all butthurt when we don't do that. You don't get me nothing, I won't get you nothing, and we won't feel butthurt about it. We'll realize as men that, hey, I just saved you 25, 30, $50, whatever, and vice versa. Hey, shake hands, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, see you next year.
To be fair, the only reason we give gift cards in my family is because we like buying things on sale. So yeah.
And James has started taking blood pressure medicine as well. I hope to avoid all encounters with the medical profession for the remainder of my life except the last day, in which case I'll go.
Yeah, I'm in that case where like they have no idea why my blood pressure. Okay, other than that I'm fat, but like even with how fat I am, it shouldn't be that high my blood pressure or my cholesterol when like under 40.
Yeah, but what makes them think I would spend money on that kind of crap?
Huh?
Of course I do. I
No,
buy
no,
good
no, Shadow.
presents.
We all know you're an elf. You don't need to.
I'm just magically clean.
You always already smell like daffodil and whatever else.
Honey.
Oh yeah, honey. Yeah.
I buy good presents. I used to be even good at wrapping them too. Yeah, I've always I'm not great at it, but I know how to do it. It's like I know some people. It's like they don't know how to do it at all. And I'm like, you can't figure it out. You take a piece of paper, you fold it till you get it right. You tape it. I'd rather it be like a clumsy job and do it myself than to have something else. I need someone else to do for me. That's
Shadow. I can kind of understand why some people just can't, and that's because some people just have really bad hand-eye coordination.
mhm,
Like people you wouldn't trust with a gun for more than one reason. I mean, uh, no, there's more than one reason for that, but that's one of them.
mhm. Grandma, is your birthday in December? My dad's is in November, and they did that to him, even though his birthday's in November, not December. There's a full minimum of 25 days because his birthday is toward the end of the year, toward the end of the month, but or was. But
Oh,
his family
sorry.
would just go, "Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas," all at the same freaking time, and he wouldn't see him again for another year. Like, you cheap bastards. Mind you,
And
it was right after the Depression, so what are you going to do?
Mr. Jelister,
It's
I
James.
already do that. Hmm?
That's James. That's James L.
Oh, hi James L. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
already
yeah.
do that. So
He
that's
he,
the
di-
thing.
he didn't put a space, so I did the same thing too. It's like, oh, it's freaking James. Cash or nothing. I don't even want the cash. I got plenty of money. I'm not hurting. At this point in my life, it's more fun for me uh, to buy someone like a really cool kick-ass gift, and just like shock the shit out of them, and just watch them enjoy it. And like I was talking to uh, one of the family, and this is like 2 years later, and he was telling me, how he still uses the gift that I gave him, like if not every day, every other day. It was just like a lesser, smaller Swiss Army knife, and I'm like, that's why I gave it to you, man. I want you to use it every day. I want you to have it for decades. I've had this one since I was like 26. So almost over half my life, and I use it every freaking day, and it looks like it. I use it as a hammer. That's why it's missing the plastic on the other side. Don't use these as hammers, and if you do, uh, use this end or use it to cut down a stick, find a rock, make some twine, and make a hammer like a caveman.
Oh, I don't watch the news for particularly that reason. I also have two, what do you call it, banned subjects. One is police, and the other one is the Japanese justice system. I don't want to watch anything about that.
Mm-hmm. You mean the band?
No, I don't want to watch. Oh, yeah, the police, the band, yeah. Sorry, it
I mean,
took me
some
a
people
second.
don't like them.
I like the band. It's just, I mean, like news about police because it's always why we should reinstate running the gauntlet or caning.
I'm in
The,
favor.
the news they bring up about cops, yeah.
Um, it was funny because about the police. There was a period like in my life where like everybody I knew loved them, and then everybody hated them when they were no longer a band, and they forgot how much they loved them. And then a few years went by, and then everybody's like, "Oh man, they were so good!" Like, yeah, I've been with them since the beginning. The first album I got of theirs was the one with "Walking on the Moon," and I got it like the year it came out. It was a gift from a former the guy who taught me how to play D&D, and
Yep.
it blew me away. I love that album, and uh, now I have their complete collection in a box set, which is the way to go. Get box sets, guys. If you like a band, get their whole collection. Look around. You can usually find it for like $30, for everything a band put out, unless they're like really, really popular. In which case, it might be more like Electric Light Orchestra. They made like 10 albums, and their CD box set of everything is, if I'm lucky, $175 brand new.
Oof,
But I
that's a
bought
lot.
it is. But I bought other collections just as big, I bought the entirety, all of Golden Earrings, all 60 of their CDs and albums for less than $50 because nobody's heard of them. I mean, he might have heard of them, but they were great, but they were just not as popular because they just refused to leave Europe for some reason.
Mm.
I saw them on their last tour through the states, which was the same year Signals for Rush came out, so like 82, 84 ish. It was their last U.S. tour, and they still went on to make like 10 more albums or more, maybe even 20. I have to double check after that. Um, but because they're not as well known, more CDs, much cheaper.
Yeah.
I think there might be a little bit to do with the quality of the box set because the 60 CD box set was just cardboard envelopes in a box versus something a little bit more fancy. But I'm like, I don't freaking care. I just want the music. It's nice when it's in a nice plastic-ish cardboard container, to hold them. But I also find, am I the only one? Anytime you have to take a CD or a DVD out of those things where you have to push down and pull up is freaking aggravating as hell.
Oh, I thought you were saying it's a nice feeling or sound.
Oh no, no, no! I fucking hate it. It's like I always feel like I'm going to snap the CD in half. Because
Uh,
they're in so tightly. You got to push down and then pull up on one end
I
to get
mean,
the.
that's why I prefer them with a center button, like that releases it.
Yeah, but even that center button, all the ones I get, it's freaking holding on tight as shit. Doesn't want to let go, and you got to push and pry at the same time.
Okay, I never had that, but I can imagine it being very frustrating.
It is because you know, you think that it's keeping them from moving around and blah blah blah, uh, but in reality, it's probably putting so much tension on it when you try to pull it out that it's possibly distorting it. I don't know. You can just try and get in a couple of miles a day, drink plenty of water. You probably aren't as unhealthy as they make it sound. I hope so. I hope all you guys are doing well. Just remember to celebrate everything you can in December. December kids do it all. Then you can party multiple times. Okay. Then you're probably doing okay. Remove stressors. I don't really have a lot of stress in my life. Well, there's that one thing, but that's still death do us part. Stop watching the news. They never tell you any of the good stuff that happened. No, they don't. That stopped being their job. Uh, all my family members are retired and don't need anything already. Buy fun stuff, or they still work and make way more money than me. They're impossible to shop. That's why I just find out what they like. A lot of times, for a lot of years, it was a really nice bottle of whiskey or tequila for them or whatever. Whatever they like. Boom, there you go. Um, Now most of them all stop drinking, which is really good. So I got to find other things. So I'm looking at like uh, 2 years ago, I got them Swiss Army knives. The last year, I got them really, really good solar lanterns that are also a power bank and do all kinds of cool shit that will hopefully last a long time that they can throw in their car for an emergency. A couple years before that, I got them emergency bags for their cars, with jumper cables and road flares and all the stuff. If your car breaks down, hey, Uncle Shadow thought ahead. I can go into the bag and get the jumper cables or can of fix a flat or whatever, to change the tire or get out of the shitty situation. He couldn't be there, but he helped make it easier.
That
Uh,
reminds me, I still need a hand crank lantern.
yeah, yeah. I've got the hand crank radio, flashlight. I've got a couple of good ones in my watch list for eBay. I'm just waiting for them to either mark them down or say, "Oh, we noticed you're watching this item. Here's 10% off if you buy it in the next 3 days." And then I'll grab one of the ones.
Hmm.
Yeah, box sets are the best. Uh,
And I think we can confirm from Chris that your wife is a human fighter or female fighter.
no, no, she is. Uh, how do I put it? what do you call someone who's constantly putting themselves up, on the cross? Uh, Martyr. Yes, she's a professional martyr. Uh, Good music and radio shows on CDs is glorious. Uh, yeah, but you got to look pretty far. I did find that there is an actual radio station that I can pick up out here that doesn't suck. When I first got here, it played good. There was a station that played good music, but it wouldn't come in. Now there's one that does come in and plays good music, so that's a bonus. I might give it a try. But like finding it, I have to go through 100 freaking channels of bullshit. Every time I go out in public and I hear certain kind of music, it just puts me in a bad mood because it's just like, oh, at least it's not. It's only on the weekends.
I will admit, I think the funniest music story I heard is that um, oh yeah, classical music. If you play that in a store, the demographics is gonna change very quickly.
Mhm. It's funny. I actually heard. I kid you not. I heard Motley Crue on an oldies station. I died laughing
On a what?
on an oldies station.
Oh yeah.
We have this restaurant in our Walmart, and they play stuff from the '80s or whatever, right? You can tell after 10 minutes of being there, you'll hear two or three songs from like that era and only that era. And I'm sitting
I
there
mean
waiting
that
for my
is the problem with what do you call it? Yeah, with rock and old timey metal or what people call bud rock is people have kind of found out what you can play there and not, and then people went out also like grunge metal and other kinds of metal, not like classic and punk.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's and then of course there's also the people deciding who gets played. So there's no thing being developed in that style.
It is nice because I worked at this one place, Party City, for many years, and it played stuff. I kid you not, every song there was from before I was born. Okay, which is let's say 66 and older. And there was some stuff. There was a few. There's about 10 songs that I could get. Like, oh, okay, this is a cool song. Sing along, etc. Um, but just for the most part, it was just like nobody listens to this anymore, and our customers absolutely don't listen to this stuff. Um, like on a Monday through Friday non-holiday basis. When the holidays roll around, Christmas music doesn't matter. Other holidays, if you can find something for it, cool. Um, but it was Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and New Year's, and maybe Valentine's Day. But for the rest of the damn year, listening to stuff that was, you know, over 35 years old was just like, this is really, really, really not enjoyable considering I used to work like 10, 12 hour days.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know who Kenny Watcher is.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
I don't know where that comes from.
Okay, that's one of his more famous lines. Uh,
Like I know it's a poker line, but like
no, he wrote a song about being a cowboy and gambling.
uh
He wrote a lot of songs about being a cowboy and probably a lot of songs about gambling. He's a country western guy. Uh, Even when he was young, he had white hair and a white beard. Always, it's like he turned 18 up, you know, white
yeah,
hair, white beard.
that does happen sometimes. And
Huh?
hopefully there is no other consequences of that, and you just look cool.
Yeah, unless you're 18 and it happens.
Well, that's why you hope there is no other consequences to it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, apparently, for Steve Martin, you know, he's still kicking. which uh, I've got mixed feelings about. He seems like he went kind of off the deep end, or at least sticking his toe in the deep end uh, when it comes to some woke crap. But I could be wrong. I hope I am. Better yet, I hope he just keeps it to himself. Shardanzar, he made some chicken as well. Yeah, that's right. He's got a country fried chicken restaurant, or did. I think he passed away. That's how most stations are, Chris. They play two songs from a particular band, and that's all they've got. And it's not even on vinyl or CD. It's on like some sort of tape or whatever. Not tape, but it's all digital, and they don't even have Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is your favorite movie. Okay. I don't even know if I've ever seen that one yet. It sounds very, very familiar. Uh, who's in it? Joe Pesci in that one? My favorite movie is still The Watchmen, and before that it was Pulp Fiction. Before that it was Princess Bride, and before that it was probably Planet of the Apes.
Princess Bride was pretty great.
Oh, it's absolutely much must watch for everybody. Should watch that at least once in their life.
And that reminds me, I heard a really funny story about it from a friend recently. So he watched it with his wife and kids,
Mhm.
and they couldn't understand why isn't he glitching when they like looked at Andre the got giant. They didn't know like back then they couldn't do that CGI trick, so they just got a big guy. So they thought like, yeah, they had done some CGI or something and couldn't find the signs.
That kind of sounds familiar, James. What the hell? He was perfect for that movie. It wouldn't have been the same without him. I mean, the whole movie was amazing. Everything about it. It was really, really, really well done. And I used to watch that at least 10 times a year. But then I discovered Quentin Tarantino's movies, and uh, mind you, it was much. It was years after Pulp Fiction had come out, but I'd never seen a movie like that because I spent most of my time watching like science fiction or fantasy, or war movies.
Yeah, I
Um,
still can't believe the director forced him to say the N word.
he wrote that himself. What are you talking about?
That's the joke.
Oh, okay. Uh, have you ever seen Four Rooms?
For room,
Four Rooms.
as in the number, or
Yeah.
no.
Okay. I was just remembering that movie. I don't think he worked on it, but his friend Paul Rodriguez, I think, worked or made it or whatever.
Yeah,
But it's very similar kind of thing. That's another one of my guilty pleasure favorites because it's also got Tim Roth in it, but it's also got Phoebe Cates in it, all grown up. Yeah, even at like 60, she's smoking hot. I don't care if a rich actor goes woke as long as they what as they okay, are willing to pay for it. I would rather they just keep it to themselves, and keep on doing stuff because guys like me, uh, I'm not going to keep putting money in or time into their pocket of mine if I find out they do or think or promote certain things. It's just like I know a lot of people, separate the art from the artist. We don't do that with Hitler for a reason, right? If his art was the best art ever, would we still, would we feel different? No. He was a very, very bad person, and therefore we should, not promote his stuff. You're not saying burying him and erase him,
Wait, he was a painter? Sorry. I
right?
just got reminder of like a bit I saw once where like someone is really talking about his art and so forth, and it's like, do you mean his paintings? And yeah, then
Yeah,
Hitler
yeah.
was a painter.
Uh, uh, James, I find it much better to do it in person, and I do. If I see somebody like that, I will help, and then I know where it's going, because I can see the liquor store from there. But at least, you know, I know that guy. That guy knows me, and who knows? Maybe someday, they'll get their life together and they'll bump into me and it's like, "Hey, man, whatever," or nothing will happen. But either way, I tried to help, and uh, where I live, it's very easy to bump into those kind of people. So if it keeps up, I'm going to have a whole bunch of friends someday. Uh, right, but there's other people like modern, folks who do things like Kevin Spacey. I used to like a lot of his work, right? But then I found out some things he did, and I'm like, I'm just gonna not watch his movies anymore. Uh, it's just that simple.
Oh, is that the guy who allegedly got his whistleblowers assassinated? Allegedly, so
Kind of,
accusers.
yeah. Bad things happen to the people who accuse him of doing bad things. Bad things happen, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'd rather just stay away from it. If he's innocent, no harm, no foul. If he is guilty, I'm not. There's nothing I can do to, put him in jail. There's nothing I can do to, make his life worse or whatever. They're just no longer, you know, people I'm going to look up to or hold in any sort of esteem whatsoever. They're just regular folks like us with their own issues, and I'm going to move on, and hopefully the people that I do admire keep doing good things, or they keep their freaking skeletons in the closet where they freaking belong. You know,
So unrelated to this, I will need to head out to get dinner.
no worries. It's top of the hour ish. I was going to leave, but you came in. I wanted to hang out with you, see how you're doing. Um,
Yeah, I'm doing all right, all things considered.
cool, glad to hear it. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow.
We will see,
Fair enough.
and have a good one, everyone.
Take care. Grandma says, oh, "Come on." I didn't like his art. No people or animals in it. The weird perspective lines too. Sterilized, yes, that too. Kevin Spacey creeps me out, but he always seemed like a bit of a yeah, right. I'm a big believer in never meet your heroes. Uh, yes, uh, but also uh, don't have too many heroes. Be one. With that, folks, I got to go see what just got delivered so I can show it off to you guys tomorrow. Everybody, have a great rest of your afternoon. Love you guys. As always,